Currently, the conflict between the United States and Europe is intensifying, with major disputes continuing over Greenland. Some are even saying that NATO is facing its greatest crisis. Today, let's take a closer look at this issue. Let's get started. Currently, President Trump is taking a very active stance regarding Greenland, saying that the United States should acquire it. In fact, he has been saying for some time that the United States should take over Greenland. When 2026 began, these actions sped up. The conflict between Europe and the United States worsened as the United States added military options. It's unprecedented for the United States government to suggest buying a NATO ally's territory or mention military options. Europe views these United States actions as a major challenge to the post-World War II order, and several European countries are concerned. Andrius Kubilius, the European Union Defense Commissioner, warned that military occupation would end NATO and severely damage relations between countries. Other European Union diplomats seem to agree. Right away, Denmark's Prime Minister Frederiksen, who is directly in conflict with the United States, also stated that if the United States militarily attacks another NATO member, everything including NATO would come to a halt and the international security order established since the end of World War II would collapse. Europe has acted, and NATO countries are now reviewing ways to boost Arctic security. The United Kingdom and Germany are reportedly discussing sending troops to Greenland to resist United States pressure, while Denmark's military has ordered a counterattack first, aid later response if attacked. Also, Greenland is making its position clear despite pressure from the United States. The Greenland government has repeatedly said it cannot accept unification with the United States or external control. Greenland, as an autonomous territory with its own administration and political identity, has the natural right to reject unilateral decisions or military intervention by other countries. Accordingly, the Greenland government has made it clear that it will strengthen its defense within the NATO framework and systematically develop its national defense strategy through cooperation with European allies. Greenland is holding close military and diplomatic talks with European countries, sharing Arctic security information and creating joint response plans. Within Greenland, residents and leaders prioritize protecting their autonomy from outside influence and are responding vigilantly to United States military or economic pressure. These strategic decisions create defense systems and expand international cooperation, showing a strong resolve to protect the region's sovereignty from United States efforts to control Greenland militarily. The 7 European countries, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, and Denmark, issued a joint statement asserting Greenland belongs to its people, and only Denmark and Greenland can decide on related matters. European countries are taking a stronger stance, increasing tensions with the United States. Even Poland, once praised by President Trump, now seems to oppose United States actions. Radosław Sikorski, Poland's foreign minister, said matters of territory, peace, and war are up to the United States Congress, and he wants to know Congress's stance on the Greenland issue. Also, on January 12, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte told reporters that NATO is not in crisis at all, dismissed the conflict with the United States, and stated that we are moving in the right direction. The conflict between the United States and Europe persists, and even NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte shows ambiguity instead of resolving it. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte acknowledged that as the Arctic route opens, there is a risk of increased activity by Russia and China. While agreeing with this, he also stated in principle that all allies agree on the importance of the Arctic and Arctic security and are discussing practical follow-up measures. And as European countries push back like this, President Trump actually scolded the European countries. President Trump claimed he raised NATO members' defense spending from 2 to 5% of gross domestic product, and that NATO would not exist without his presidency. He also expressed doubts about whether they would support us when we need NATO, saying, "We are NATO, we spend a lot, but I'm not sure they do the same for us." Meanwhile, serious cracks are appearing within the United States as well. The Greenland issue is spreading beyond diplomatic debate to become a constitutional matter, and opposition to military options is growing within Congress. Both Democratic and some Republican lawmakers insist that the president cannot decide alone on military action against an allied nation's territory. Congress must approve it. Since the United States Constitution gives both Congress and the president authority over war and military action, more people argue that a military option for Greenland can't remain just a diplomatic idea and will likely lead to legal and institutional debates. This debate shows President Trump's remarks reflect his personal politics, not national consensus. For Europe, this situation allows them to frame the conflict as being with Donald Trump personally, rather than with the United States as a nation. Diplomatic and military experts worry that if the president takes military action without Congress, it could increase United States political turmoil and make allies lose trust in America. Ultimately, this issue is more than a dispute over Greenland's territory. It highlights political and legal divides in the United States and international tensions. Is President Trump causing a NATO crisis by suggesting a military attack on Greenland? The United States focuses on Greenland despite allies' opposition due to competition for sovereignty and new security strategies. On January 4th, President Trump said Greenland is vital for national security, citing Russian and Chinese ships near the area. Greenland is a key strategic point for Arctic and North Atlantic defense. The reason for this is that the area near Greenland is a crucial passage that Russian Northern Fleet nuclear submarines must go through to enter the Atlantic. If the United States controls Greenland, it can completely block Russia's access. That's why the United States already has a military base in Greenland. The Trump administration is planning a missile defense system called the Golden Dome, and surveillance in the Arctic is crucial to improve it. That's why the area matters. Greenland's ice sheet is believed to contain major deposits of rare earth elements, oil, and natural gas. Heavy rare earth deposits total 38.5 million tons, about 1/3 of the world's 120 million tons. China dominates the rare earth supply chain, so securing Greenland is crucial to counter China. China is increasing its economic and military influence in the Arctic by using the Arctic route. If China continues this, the United States may have little room to operate in the Arctic Ocean. So, did the United States try to control Greenland before the Arctic route existed to prevent this? The problem is that although Greenland is an autonomous territory, it's still the territory of an allied country, which is causing major issues. In fact, it's not the first time NATO has experienced internal divisions. In 1974, Turkey invaded Greek Cyprus. There were cod wars between the United Kingdom and Iceland. And in 1987, Turkey and Greece had territorial disputes. Several such incidents have occurred. The problem is the United States has never openly discussed possible military attacks on other countries. Many NATO diplomats have expressed concerns that the current situation is the worst, and if an unprecedented event like the United States actually attacking Greenland were to happen, it would mean the end of the alliance. If the United States were to actually take military action against Greenland, Europe realistically does not have the power to stop it. Because the gap in national power and military strength is so great, even if all of Europe joined forces, it would be difficult to withstand a direct confrontation with the United States. That's why European countries are pushing back and raising their voices in warning. If the United States truly takes action, there is a high possibility that Greenland will effectively fall into American hands. The problem is that, in this process, the very foundation of the NATO alliance could be shaken. Such aggressive actions by the United States undermine trust within the alliance and increase the likelihood that European countries will seek their own independent defense strategies. This isn't just a regional military conflict, but could disrupt the entire international security system. Cracks in NATO would be a strategic loss for the United States, but a big advantage for China and Russia. A NATO expert from the German Marshall Fund of the United States said that if NATO stops functioning as an alliance, it would greatly benefit Moscow and Beijing. A United States-Europe split could let these countries expand their influence in the Arctic and Europe. As Europe pursues independent security, China and Russia could boost their influence over Arctic routes, energy, and strategic areas, potentially impacting the global order long term. In the end, the United States' military options are not just a regional strategy, but a potential bomb that could shake the very existence of NATO, the security of Europe, and the global balance of power all at once. It seems that NATO is truly on the brink of a rift right now. What do you think about the current situation? Please let us know in the comments. That's all for this video. Thank you.